Hi guys, welcome back to another sewing tutorial on this channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're stopping for the first time, you're welcome guys. In today's video guys, we'll be learning how to make a stylish bustier with a keyhole neckline. If this is what you're interested in learning or watching guys, watch the video to the end, like, share and subscribe. So guys, let's get started. Okay guys, welcome back again. I have my pattern paper on the work table, so I'm going to be explaining what each line represents. Okay, so my round armhole is 9 inches and I'm going to be using this measurement to establish my armhole curve, that is utilizing the quarter of my bust measurement. My round bust measurement divided by 4 give me 10. I'm going to be marking 10 inches on the chest line. On the midpoint of my armhole, I'm going to be marking 4.5, which is 9 inches divided by 2. From that point, I'll go in by half an inch and then I'll connect this point to my shoulder. Okay guys, so my neck measurement I'm working with is neck depth 3 inches, the neck width is 4 inches. Okay, so go ahead and take a measurement of your round neckline and then divide it by 4. Okay, and then go ahead and place it as your neck width. Then you work with your neck depth of your choice. If you're going to be doing a turtleneck, ensure that you work with the basic neckline at least. Okay, so for the underbust contouring, my half bust span is 4 inches. I'm going to be marking 1 inch on both sides for the underbust contouring, and then I'll go ahead and contour it to my bust points as you can see me doing. Okay, so I'm trying to ensure that it's curved properly, so I'm using the curvy part of my pattern. Okay, so for this pattern we'll be doing a princess dart bustier. Okay, so I'll go ahead from the shoulder. I'll be coming down by 4.5 inches and then I'm going to be linking this point down to my bust point. Okay, so on the bust point you could go ahead and mark 1 inch below and then 1 inch above. Okay, or half an inch below and half an inch above depending on your bust size. So guys, on the armhole I'm going to be going up by half an inch and down by 1.5 inches. Okay, so giving us a total of 1.5 inches. The over bust contouring 1.5 inches. Okay, the under bust contouring we have 2 inches. So for the princess armhole bustier, for the armhole I went up by half an inch and then 1 inch on the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to be linking these 2 points down to my bust point as you can see me doing. So the next thing I'll do is to blend. For some people they will just go up by 1 inch and then create your new armhole, or you can go ahead and blend. The essence of this is to ensure that you don't have any form of gaping. Okay, because if you go ahead and cut it this way, you'll notice that when you're joining the panels, one will be longer than the other and it may likely affect your armhole. So it's either you blend or you go out a bit by 1 inch or maybe 1.5 inches to really be on the safe side. Okay, so I blended and then I created a new armhole. Okay, using the extended dart leg. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to take my horizontal measurements. We all know that I've already established my bust measurement on the chest line, so I'll just go ahead and replace the dart intake on the chest line and then add my seam allowance. So I'll do the same for the lines. The underbust, I'm going to be taking the quarter of my underbust and then the dart intake and seam allowance. I'll also do the same for the waist, quarter of my waist, the dart intake and then the seam allowance. Okay, so for the neck depth, for the if you look at the illustration on the thumbnail, you'll notice that on the armhole they went in by 2 inches. Okay, for the armhole went in by 2 inches and the neck depth is 9.5. Okay, the basic neckline on this pattern, we're going to be making use of it, but along the line we'll understand what we're doing. Okay, so this is the first front pattern. I'm also going to be drafting the second pattern. Okay, so for this first pattern, the neck depth I'm working with is 9.5 inches. On the shoulder I went in by 2 inches guys. The next thing I'll simply do is to take my darts, my bust darts, which is the difference between your front waistline and your back waistline. So my front waistline is 18. Automatically, we know that the back will be around 16.5, which is 18 minus 16.5. So guys, I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern paper, the excess pattern paper, and then I'll also close up my bust dart as you can see me doing. So guys, at this point you really need to be very careful while cutting out your excess pattern so that you don't get to alter the pattern while doing this. Okay, and I'm also going to be utilizing this opportunity to explain to us the importance of a bust dart. Okay, because most times initially I used to kind of overlook the benefits and then draft my pattern without using a bust dart. But one of the major importance of a bust dart, it kind of is that it creates a perfect contour around the bust line or around the bust region, and also creates fitting, like a perfect fit between the front waistline and the back waistline. Okay, so the benefits cannot be overemphasized. Okay, so after cutting out the pattern, guys, this is what we have. You can go ahead and label it as your front pattern, because we have two patterns yet. The second one is yet to be drafted, so this is the first one. Okay, so go ahead and label it if possible. Okay, so I'll go ahead and draft the second pattern after doing this. Okay guys, so for the second pattern, the second front pattern, I have my pattern paper on the work table, and I've already established the major lines, which is the chest line, the bust, the under bust, and the waist, to save time. So we'll just go ahead and start with our that placement. Okay, so for this second pattern we'll just be using a simple dart, simply because we won't be doing much with it here. So you just place your half bust span, which is 4 inches for me. Go ahead and mark yours, and then half an inch on both sides. So I'm going to be using my tracing wheel to transfer whatever measurement I have here to the other side. And if you notice that the neck width I'm working is still the same with the first pattern, which is 4 inches by 3 inches, which is 3 inches the basic neckline. Okay guys, so I'm done transferring the pattern to the other side, as you can see. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take the horizontal measurement. It was an oversight for me, so I felt it's need for me to also place the pattern paper on fold again to avoid me having errors. Okay, so I'll go ahead and link the points. Okay, ensure that you do your dart replacement while taking your horizontal measurement. So I'm going to use my tracing wheel to transfer my horizontal measure, which is the line, to the other side. Okay, so I'll open it up and then I'll use my meter rule to draw the line on the other side. Okay guys, so the next thing for us to do is to create the second pattern, which is a very simple thing to do. You can choose any side, either this side or the other side, depending on where you want to cross, where you want your crossing to be. So remember on the first pattern that I went in by 2 inches because there seemed to be a merging point between the first bustier and the second bustier on one shoulder. So remember guys, excuse me, that I went in by 2 inches on the other pattern. So on this same pattern I'm going to be going in by 2 inches, and then I'm going to be linking that mark, that 2 inches point, down to my underbust. So at this point the rule wasn't straight enough, so I needed to be very careful to ensure that I get a straight line. If you have a longer ruler, is fine. So just go ahead and link this point, the shoulder point, down to your underbust. Okay, so voila, this is what we have. Okay, this is the second bustier, the front bodice part 2. That's what I labeled mine as. So I'm going to be using my scissors to cut out the excess pattern paper. Okay guys, the last stage of the pattern drafting is for us to draft the back pattern. And for the back pattern, I have just my chest line and my waistline, which are the two important lines needed for the back. So what I'll simply do is to eliminate my zipper bulge, which is the first thing to do on your back pattern, or what first thing I usually do for my back pattern is to eliminate my zipper bulge simply before placing my waist darts. Okay, so you go in on your zipper. The zipper is 1.5 inches. On that point, you go in on the waistline, you go in by half an inch and link it to your neckline, and then you continuously mark 1.5 inches from that waistline up to your neckline. So automatically this becomes our new zipper allowance, and the eliminated one is the shaded parts. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to mark my half bust span from my zipper line, the new zipper line, guys, and then I went ahead to draw a straight line up to my chest line. So I'm also doing a princess dart bustier for the back, which is not necessary or which is optional. You can do a simple waist back dart or a simple waist dart, but I intend to use a princess dart bustier at the back pattern. So I linked it up to the midpoint of my armhole, 1/2 inch on both sides of the waist dart, and then up to the chest line. So there's no extension here simply because we're not doing any form of contouring around the armhole. Okay, so guys, I'll go ahead and draft my neckline, which is 1.5 inches. The neck width simply remains the same, which is 4 inches, guys. What I'll simply do next is to take or to mark my horizontal measurements on the bust, the quarter of our bust, which is already established while we're drafting our armholes. So I'll just go ahead and take or mark my seam allowance 1.5 inches. On the waist, the quarter of your waist, you replace your dart intake of 1 inch and then your seam allowance, and then go ahead and link these 2 points together. Okay, so what you do next is to use your scissors to trim out your excess pattern paper, and then your back pattern is good to go. I'm just trying to explain at this point, explain to you guys that the back measurements is 16.5, which is 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches shorter than the front waistline, simply because we utilized or we used a bust dart. Okay, so at this point I'm just cutting out the armhole, the princess dart around the armhole area, and also cutting out my waist dart. I'll cut out the excess pattern paper around the neckline region, and then this is what we have. You can go ahead and label this part as your back pattern, and we're good to go. So thank you so much guys for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. God bless you guys.